So hello, good morning. My name is Adrian from the company Let's Test. We develop water quality testing equipment and we offer consultancy services to run successful water laboratories in decentralized locations where also off-grid water systems need to be monitored. In Germany, there is a saying which says, es gibt nichts Gutes, außer man tut es. And this is particularly true when it comes to water quality monitoring, especially in larger regions, in big countries, where the responsible entities need to monitor water systems which are decentralized and off-grid. Globally, there is a global urgency. The World Health Organization is pushing that topic. There's a great new guideline for small water supplies which addresses specifically these regions. There's a lot of political pressure. The SDG 6, Safe Drinking Water for All by 2030, of course, including the decentralized regions all across the globe, and there's regulatory requirements more and more. Within the EU, we have a new directive, which is also linked to the German Trinkwasserverordnung, which includes risk-based water safety plans for decentralized systems. There's national guidelines all across the world coming up, which want to include these decentralized systems. The question is how? How to include decentralized off-grid water systems into regular water quality monitoring activities. Our logo is representing the situation. In all countries, you have urban, inner circle, peri-urban, middle circle, and remote locations, outer circle. Our focus is here on the remote locations, providing solutions for these locations. The current limitations are very similar all across the globe. You have sample holding times you need to adhere to. You cannot bring samples within 18 hours into a central lab in Nairobi when you are sitting in Nakuru. You have very high operational costs. In South Africa, for example, where we have been with the German Water Partnership recently, water operators face the challenge that the costs for transportation, logistics, and staffing is more than 10 times higher than the actual analysis itself. It is petrol, staff, hotel costs, 2 people driving out for 3 days to collect 3 samples and bring them back to a central city. And one must say that in the last decades, a lot of unsuitable equipment landed up in so-called decentralized satellite labs. So among other challenges, decades of emergency kit distribution have not created scalable laboratory infrastructure. A lot of emergency relief kits have ended up in satellite labs. But emergency relief kits, they may look suitable for running a lab in a decentralized location. They are small kits, they are mobile, but they are designed for emergency response and not for long-term operation of decentralized water labs. To visualize this, we have asked the artificial intelligence to create us an image how it would look like to run a permanent city water system based on emergency field infrastructure systems. It is not possible. This is how it would look like to run a restaurant on an emergency relief cooking equipment. It isn't possible. And it is also not possible to run a permanent laboratory on emergency relief kits. The difference between these pictures is that these are real pictures from our projects. This is our team member Emma, We are currently consulting the National Water Laboratory in Chad, a project led by Dorsch Impact. And this is the situation on the ground. We have a laboratory with emergency relief kits which are not being used. This is in Uganda, the government lab, before we started working in that project, consulting and equipping the lab. Same situation here. And in decentralized labs, the downsides hit even harder of these emergency kits. We have large quantities of proprietary consumables. These kits use consumables that can only come from that one single company. You cannot use standard consumables with emergency relief kits. You have very high operational costs. In decentralized labs, you already have a small budget line, so high operating costs kill your activities. You have limited sample throughputs in these kits. They are very fragile. Parts break and you stop testing, and you have very intensive maintenance demands. For example, the battery-operated incubators. Now I would like to share with you what Let's Test, what our activities are based on. What is our foundation? I would like to give you an insight which is valuable for water operators that aim to run labs in decentralized locations. So in the past 20 years, we have run multiple critical success factors, a method which is based on interviews with laboratory managers, and we have recently done it within the government lab of Chad. We have done it in Cambodia, we have done it in China, we have done it in Morocco, in Ghana, and in South Africa, in different operator settings with different water laboratories. And these are the 6 critical success factors. They are always reoccurring. They are always the same when it comes to running successful water labs in decentralized locations. One critical success factor is choose relevant parameters. What are the priority parameters in water testing? Many operators or many governments think that testing the most possible parameters, 50 parameters, gives the best protection against diseases. But logistically, this is not possible. And the World Health Organization suggests, with their new guideline, to reduce the number of parameters to only 6 to 8 priority parameters, and setting up a system where these 6 parameters can be tested on a regular basis on off-grid smaller water supplies, which include off-grid water systems. Critical success factor number 3, reliable supplies. You need to secure reagents and other consumables at reasonable cost. And this includes also the right choice of equipment that does not depend on large quantities of reagents. And this is very, very critical because a lab runs on reagents and consumables. And this could imply that the laboratory, especially at the national level, a ministry lab, needs to have a person which is responsible for purchasing equipment and consumables, and that person should have a place in the organizational structure, and that person must be a technical person. Because in practice, what you often find is that a technician from the lab is very well educated technically. He writes the specifications, hands them to the purchasing department. The purchasing department is not technical. It's handing out the information to a company in the country. This person also is not an expert on laboratory equipment, and this person contacts a company, often in a different country, to get that equipment. And you need that direct contact between the purchasing department and manufacturing companies to ensure good functioning of the lab. Critical success factor number 4, qualified personnel. And this requires, in an organizational diagram, a person responsible for human resources. You need a quality management system, critical success factor number 5, which is managed by a defined person who is dedicated, ensuring maintenance, calibrations, SOPs on the way to possible accreditation. And very critical for these decentralized locations is mobility. You need efficient field teams that can do testing in the field efficiently, at low cost, and reliable and quick. And last but not least, you need appropriate technologies. Success factor number 2, use robust, maintainable, context-fit laboratory systems. We are looking at this factor now. As Let's Test, we address all these topics in our consultancy, and we are also a manufacturer of equipment. In this particular topic, we address the key technology requirements for long-term success. Robust and durable. The last thing you want in a decentralized lab is a breaking part. Equipment should have low operating costs, so consumables must be standard if possible. Scalable sample capacity. You need to be able to test many samples. Easy and quick to operate. Independent of unstable infrastructure, so independent of electricity would be ideal. This is why we developed and patented also the electricity-free incubator for microbiological analysis. Equipment must be mobile, low maintenance and calibration needs, because you are in the process of developing a quality management system and it is not there yet maybe. Equipment must be reliable and independent of inappropriate consumables, and critical for success, easily accessible technical support by the manufacturer. This kit here was developed based on these factors: the portable microbiological water laboratory, standard method, membrane filtration method, hand welded in Germany and made by pharmaceutical grade stainless steel, which will last for 100 years. This stainless steel cannot rust, and we can guarantee that. And that world's only completely electricity-free incubator. The Ministry of Health in Sudan has 100 of these systems, and they were so satisfied with it that they wanted to reorder the same quantity. Then, unfortunately, the war started, but they met us in Dubai. They had been given these emergency relief kits, and they saw our equipment, and immediately they knew this is what we need. These are the electricity-free incubators in smaller and larger size, which keep exactly 37 degrees for 24 hours and more. And we now have a company in Norway which started using these incubators because Norway also has off-grid water systems and is a large country. For microbiological tests, we have also developed bigger systems that can do the same test for priority parameter E. coli and other coliforms. Important for us was that those kits use exactly the same consumables. So in a lab, you can have the big system for many samples, and for portable application, you can have these ones. Our photometer that covers more than 140 parameters, easy to calibrate, comes with a complete data management cloud software solution and uses reagents that can last up to 10 years without cooling, and you can attach probes to the meter to measure pH, conductivity, TDS, so all chemical parameters on one equipment only that needs to be taken care of. End users always face other challenges, practical challenges, because a lab is not a single test kit. A lab is tables, sampling equipment, a lab coat. You need to have the credibility to go into a community to test water. So we started to develop a complete lab in a box, because mobile labs are the future. The question is, how should mobile labs look like? Are these big trucks, as we saw in Ivory Coast, for example? A big truck was introduced, air conditions, but cost inefficient. And after 5 years, the engine broke of that truck and the mobile lab became a fixed lab. So we developed a mobile box that can be placed on different vehicles, and when one vehicle breaks down, you simply place it on the next.
Let's Test is making water quality testing an easy experience in off-grid locations around the world. Our solution is cost-efficient and easy-to-use equipment. The multifunctional Let's Test mobile water lab was developed for testing all relevant microbiological and physicochemical parameters in water. Discover this fully equipped box that combines many individual Let's Test kits and transforms them into a successful and professional water laboratory, one that is cost-efficient, mobile, and perfectly suited for large, vast countries with many water systems in off-grid areas. This box is your central storage for all lab-related documents, offering you a dedicated section for all sampling equipment and clean working surfaces at correct height. It comes fully supplied with the latest Let's Test equipment of your choice, including quality and data management tools for seamless workflow and reliability. Attach it to the vehicle of your choice. If one breaks, simply switch it to the next. The ultra-robust box is made from Spacetech material. It is lockable for added security and can even be equipped with a tracker for real-time location monitoring. It comes with rain and sun protection, brandable with your logo. This lab is designed to save you time and effort while giving you the recognition and credibility you deserve. Find detailed information about the Let's Test mobile water lab at letstest.com. Made in Germany and a trusted member of the German Water Partnership. Let's Test. Enjoy off-grid water testing.
So the way you have to understand this box is like a shell for the equipments that had been developed before. Because we saw that test kits alone are not a lab, and there we started to develop, looking and exchanging with our clients. We were searching for a good solution, and the box is a shell. It organizes the equipment, it protects the equipments. In the top chamber, you have all the sampling equipment, you have a lab code in there, you have the guidelines in there, you have a complete data management cloud system. In practice, what is often missing are these very practical tools. When you arrive somewhere in the community, often you don't find tables. So saving the end user time by having an opening that becomes a clean table is key for this sector. And the material, this is not plastic. This is ultra robust material from ThyssenKrupp and ultra light material. It is unbreakable. You can bend it 180%, drive over it with a tractor, it will not break. So the mobile lab boxes can increase efficiency by 70% in decentralized water labs. I will share a study that was made in the next slide. It can save up to 100 hours of driving per quarter, because instead of driving out, collecting a sample and coming back to the lab, the mobile lab can go from one sample to the next and test and already start incubating independently of electricity. So this lab can cut a lot of costs, hotel costs where you need electricity for incubation. These can be big numbers. You can expand reach. More than 100 additional sampling points per quarter are possible and create value. Because of course, in this situation now, you can reach more potential clients. And this is where it becomes interesting. The answer to the question, if these systems could also be used to run successful business labs. So in Uganda, there was one government laboratory that was equipped with our mobile water lab box. It is one of the previous pictures where people were using emergency relief kits before. There was an independent evaluation done we were not aware of, and that evaluation could show that the decentralized lab, after introduction of the mobile water lab box, was 70% more efficient and could cover more than 100 additional sampling points with the same budget line. And this also surprised us that it was that efficient. And it also surprised the UN Habitat and the Global Water Operator Partnership. And we were then invited to the 6th Global Water Operator Partnership Congress in Bonn last year to present that solution. This is how it is looking like in practice, how a government lab is using that system. And last year we visited with the German Water Partnership South Africa, the Water Research Commission there, and gave a technical workshop. This was part of the joint project, the GWP project, between the African Water Association and the German Water Partnership. And after that technical workshop, these were the responses from the participants.
I think firstly to thank our partners, AWASA, and of course yourself, the Global and German Water Partnership. As you have seen from our participant, this was a useful training. There's always an issue of remote areas in Africa, in South Africa, and where really the laboratories are too far. So having something portable like this is very good. They can take it to the fields, they'll do the testing, and then when they go back to the lab, they'll finalize whatever they need to do. So a very useful equipment, I think. And we hope that as we're doing the training amongst other Southern African stakeholders, they will like it. They will use it. But for us, it's really to say, let's afford an opportunity for the people that work on the ground where there's really no laboratories and equipment that they can use to be able to test the quality of the water.
Thank you very much.
So I'm Michael van der Laan from the Agricultural Research Council. I really enjoyed the workshop. I learned a great deal. There's a system that really uses the most robust science to get high quality answers, but it's just sort of this turnkey solution. Price is much less than we were speculating in the beginning. We're struggling with a lot of our labs, especially government labs, for procurement and that kind of thing, and also high transportation costs. Often the roads aren't good, so I think this type of kit has a big place in future.
My name is Joe Kamini, and I work for the biggest water utility in South Africa. And we were invited here by WFC. The solution that was presented here gave us a lot of insights, especially when you look at issues of microbiological testing. One would have never thought that you would have a real-time data in terms of water quality monitoring coming from microbiology. And this solution has provided that. And I see it being a changer for the water industry, because you would have all the information that you need in a very short space of time. It can be used anywhere with no demand for any resources. So for me, it is a perfect solution.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Made in Germany and a trusted member of the German Water Partnership. Let's test. Enjoy off-grid water testing.
So, what we very often hear from participants of these workshops and end users is the word game changer. The system is described as a game changer. It is very new, but we see in the studies that this system has the potential to be a game changer in the sector and to bring water quality monitoring at a reasonable cost to off-grid water systems. And this is a huge challenge we are still facing these days in the water sector. We need to address it. So the key learning from our perspective for the sector should be that emergency relief kits should not be introduced into decentralized water labs by any organization, because it doesn't work. It didn't work in the past decades and it will never work. As Let's Test, we have designed a new product specifically made for disaster response for organizations that move into a location where there was an earthquake and where in a very short amount of time tests need to be done. And then the equipment goes back. So designed for rapid assessment, but for water operators, you need a design for long-term operation, ensuring cost efficiency, extremely important, and flexibility when it comes to consumables, and independence of infrastructure such as electricity, for example. As Let's Test, we are based in Cologne, Germany, in the technology center. And here is where we are manufacturing the equipment, developing the equipment. In addition, we have teams in Uganda, Ghana, and Tanzania. And these teams are or can be understood as trainer hubs, technical support hubs, so that end users can also benefit from on-site direct technical support. If you are interested in our solutions, you can contact us. There are some existing customers using our solutions from very different sectors, governments, industry, NGOs, but also research institutions. Feel free to reach out and we are happy for you contacting us. And last but not least, I always finish my presentation with the phrase, enjoy off-grid water testing. This is our mission, to make it a joy, because it was up until now a pain for so many people. Thank you.
Made in Germany and a trusted member of the German Water Partnership. Let's test. Enjoy off-grid water testing.